What happens when the untamed power of yesteryear meets the razor-sharp precision of today? That's the question every gearhead grapples with. Was it the legacy that matters, or the new mind-blowing technology? Is it the sass that the classics bring with them, or the futuristic designs of the modern cars that takes the lead? Classic muscle cars were born in a golden age of unregulated horsepower wars and outrageous designs, while modern muscle cars thrive in a world of technology-driven innovation and jaw-dropping performance. Today, we're pitting these two titans against each other in a battle of raw grit versus polished perfection. Classic big block engines were legendary for their brute force, but did you know that modern engines can outpace them in almost every way without sacrificing fuel economy? How do they do it? The answer will surprise you. During the 1960s and early 1970s, the muscle car's heart was a massive 8-cylinder shove, with more cubic inches than most people have living room nowadays. These engines, like the legendary 426 Hemi in the Dodge Challenger or the 7.0-liter LS6 in the 1970 Chevrolet Chevelle SS454, were built for one thing: power. The Chevelle LS6 produced a stunning 450 horsepower and a massive 500 pound-feet per torque, numbers that were impressive by the standards of this period. It was also disadvantageous because the engines of that period were comparatively less complex. Carburetors regulated the fuel-to-air ratio, but they were not as accurate as the modern systems, taking lots of adjustments for good results. Much as the carburetors used in the classic muscle cars were some of the best engineered of that generation, they were not the best when it came to fuel efficiency. For instance, the Holley 4150 carburetor on cars such as the Chevrolet Camaro Z28 depended on the manual adjustment to attain the right combination of air and fuel. As for modern muscle, one has to distinguish between so-called modern muscle and muscle cars, while the latter refers to cars with advanced fuel injection systems. The Ford Mustang Shelby GT500 features use the new 5.2-liter supercharged Predator V8 engine that incorporates the dual fuel injectors for every cylinder for efficiency in the fuel injection process. This translates to good power at all sorts of RPM, a situation that carbureted engines can rarely achieve. Now, fast forward to the present day, and you can have engines that combine old-school power with new-school smarts. Consider the 6.2-liter supercharged V8 in the Dodge Challenger SRT Demon that makes 840 horsepower if the car operates on high-octane fuel. Unlike the temperamental big blocks of old, modern engines use direct fuel injection, turbocharging, and computer-controlled systems to deliver power smoothly and efficiency. The result? More performance with better reliability and even, dare we say it, decent fuel economy. The classic muscle car era was all about massive displacement. Engines like the 426 Hemi, nicknamed the Elephant due to its size and weight, delivered raw, unfiltered power with up to 425 horsepower on paper, but enthusiasts speculate it made closer to 500 horsepower in real-world testing. However, this raw power came at a cost. The big block engines of the time often struggled with reliability during long hauls and were notorious for overheating. Modern muscle, on the other hand, uses smaller, more efficient engines without sacrificing performance. The 6.2-liter supercharged LT4 and the Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 deliver 650 horsepower thanks to precise engineering like lightweight aluminum blocks and advanced cooling systems. Modern turbocharging and supercharging ensure that even smaller engines can deliver incredible power while remaining fuel efficient, a concept unheard of in the 1960s and 70s. When we talk about classic muscle engines, we can't ignore some of the rarities that became legends. The Ford Boss 429 Mustang, for instance, housed a NASCAR-derived 429 cubic inch V8. With hemispherical combustion chambers and a solid lifter camshaft, it was an engineering marvel. Only 1,359 Boss 429s were ever made, making it one of the rarest and most coveted muscle cars. Then there's the Plymouth Superbird, which featured the monstrous 426 Hemi or the more common 446 pack. The Superbird was a race car for the road, complete with a nose cone and towering rear wing, and its engine choices reflected its performance-first ethos. These engines weren't just powerful, they were milestones in muscle car history. Today, owning one is like holding a piece of automotive art that roars. Originally, muscle cars were built for one thing, that is, to own the drag strip. Muscle cars such as the 1970 Plymouth Hemi Cuda could do the quarter-mile run in around 13 seconds. That's pretty fast. But most classics were not cars designed for anything more than dealing with a straight line. The rear suspensions were basic originally, with solid rear axles retained by leaves. Braking? Well, let me tell you, the drum brakes were not exactly inspiring a lot of confidence when you were attempting to shed some speed from a 2-ton mammoth. Coupes including the 1968 Dodge Charger RT came built with rear-wheel drive configurations as well as torsion bar front suspension. Although this setup was perfect for getting straight-ahead power, it was not good for quick turning. The 2024 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 has its own advantage as it applies the magnetic ride control suspension that adapts to the real-time roads to ensure that it can maneuver quickly on both streets and racetracks. On brakes, the classic period used drum brakes, which have been known to fade during instances of stress. High-performance vehicles such as the Challenger SRT Hellcat come equipped with Brembo 6-piston calipers and large vented rotors, providing adjustable brake performance for multiple high-speed drag sessions. Today's muscle cars, on the other hand, are all-round performance vehicles. Not only do they own the drag strip, they own the racetrack, the track too, and own it and conquer it. The following are in the 2024 Ford Mustang Dark Horse: track-tuned suspension, big Brembo brakes, and an electronic stability control system. It is one that goes around corners with the same authority as when it throws itself forward. Likewise, the Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 1LE is back again as a Nürburgring kingmaker that clocks some hot lap times. Acceleration is also not an issue to even and can be triggered to the most extreme possible. With launch control, the Dodge Challenger SRT Demon rockets to 60 miles per hour in 2.3 seconds, which leaves any standard muscle car in its dust and does the quarter mile in under 10 seconds. In the golden age of muscle, 4-speed manual transmissions like the Muncie M22 Rock Crusher were the gold standard for gearheads. These transmissions offered direct engagement with the car, but shifting was often an art form that required precision, and sometimes brute force. Automatics at the time, like the TorqueFlite 3-speed, were slow and less exciting. The classic Muncie M22 Rock Crusher was the stuff of legends, but what does today's technology bring to the table that makes shifting gears faster and more exhilarating than ever? You won't want to miss this. Today's muscle cars feature cutting-edge transmissions. The Dodge Challenger Hellcat offers a Tremec 6-speed manual for purists, but pairs it with the TorqueFlite 8-speed automatic, which shifts faster than any human could. With paddle shifters, drivers can retain control while enjoying lightning-fast gear changes. Modern automatics have made even the quickest drag times accessible to casual drivers. No perfect heel-toe shifts required. While we've been raving about how modern muscle cars have advanced in terms of technology, speed, and safety, did you know that the very engineering principles behind them were first pioneered in, you guessed it, the 1970s? That's right. Some of the most revolutionary innovations in modern performance cars trace their roots back to classic muscle car engineering. The secret? The same lightweight materials and torque-heavy designs that made cars like the 1970 Dodge Charger RT famous are now reimagined with carbon fiber and turbocharged engines. Classic muscle cars weren't just about performance, they were rolling works of art. Designers leaned into dramatic proportions, bold curves, and aggressive lines. Cars like the 1970 Chevrolet Camaro SS and the Pontiac Firebird Trans Am became icons of their time, with distinctive grilles, sweeping rooflines, and exaggerated hoods. Let's not forget the paint jobs: bright oranges, deep blues, and racing stripes that screamed, "Look at me." Rare classics like the 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona took design to the extreme. With its elongated nose and massive rear wing, it looked like it belonged in a sci-fi movie. But every curve served a purpose, helping the Daytona dominate NASCAR tracks before rule changes sidelined it. Take the 1970 Oldsmobile 442 W30 for example. It epitomized the muscle car stance with its long hood, short deck, and aggressive ram air hood scoops. Compare this to the 2023 Mustang Dark Horse, which uses functional vents, diffusers, and a sleek roofline to reduce drag and increase downforce. Modern muscle cars retain the aggression but tone down the flamboyance. Aerodynamics ruled the design game now, with every crease and vent engineered for function. The Ford Mustang's sleek modern lines still pay homage to the original, but they're optimized for speed and stability. Meanwhile, the Dodge Challenger Hellcat stays closer to its roots, with a boxy, retro-inspired look that modernizes without losing its heritage. The exhaust note of a classic muscle car is pure, unfiltered aggression. The deep growl of a big block V8 like the 454 in the Chevelle SS or the 446-pack in the Roadrunner doesn't just sound powerful, it feels powerful. There's a rawness to it that modern cars can't replicate. Classic cars like the 1969 Pontiac GTO Judge were equipped with exhaust headers that channeled sound straight from the engine to your ears. Some models even offered the option to remove exhaust silencers with a factory-installed exhaust cutout, letting you unleash raw V8 thunder at the flip of a switch. Today's muscle cars use active exhaust systems like the quad exhaust tips on the Dodge Charger Hellcat, which allow drivers to switch between quiet mode and track mode for an ear-splitting roar that can wake the neighbors or the dead. That's not to say today's muscle cars don't sound incredible. They do, but the sound has evolved, becoming more calculated and refined. Modern systems like the dual-mode exhaust on the Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 let drivers adjust the sound from a mild rumble to a full-on roar. It's thrilling, but some purists argue it lacks the organic chaos of a classic exhaust note. In the classic era, muscle cars weren't exactly known for their creature comforts. Manual windows, AM radios, and vinyl bench seats were the norm. Air conditioning? Rare. Power steering? Optional. These cars were designed for speed, not luxury. Today's muscle cars are another story entirely. Heated and ventilated leather seats, touchscreen infotainment systems, and advanced safety features like adaptive cruise control are standard fare. The Dodge Charger Hellcat offers enough luxury to rival high-end sedans, proving that you can have performance and comfort in one package. The classic 1971 Hemi Cuda convertible can fetch millions today. But are the modern limited production models like the Dodge Demon 170 already on their way to becoming tomorrow's classics? Here's what you need to know. Classic muscle cars have become some of the most collectible vehicles on the planet. Limited production models like the Chevrolet Copo Camaro, built specifically for drag racing, or the aforementioned Boss 429 Mustang, fetch astronomical prices at auctions. These cars weren't just rare, they were revolutionary, pushing the boundaries of what muscle cars could be. One of the rarest classic muscle cars is the 1971 Hemi Cuda convertible. Only 11 were ever made. It recently sold for $3.5 million at auction thanks to its rarity, performance, and undeniable charisma. Compare this to the Dodge Demon 170, a modern muscle car limited to just 3,300 units. While it's rare by today's standards, it doesn't yet carry the mystique that decades of history have given to the Cuda. Modern muscle cars like the Shelby GT500 or the Demon are also limited in production but haven't yet reached the same legendary status. They're rarities by design, aimed at boosting demand, whereas classics became rare over time due to attrition and limited production runs. So who comes out on top? The classic era represents an untamed spirit, a time when muscle cars were raw, loud, and unapologetically rebellious. But the modern era has taken that legacy and refined it, creating cars that are not only faster, but also safer, more reliable, and more versatile. Ultimately, the real winner is the car enthusiast who gets to enjoy both eras. Whether you're cruising in a 70 Chevelle S or launching a Hellcat down the quarter mile, the spirit of muscle lives on. Now it's your turn. Would you choose raw nostalgia or high-tech power? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Give it a thumbs up if you like the video, and please make sure you're subscribed so that you don't miss our next episode in the Muscle Car Vault.